And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Dan, who during his near-death experience encountered the Grim Reaper, and today we're going to learn about it. Dan, thank you for joining me, and welcome.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I do appreciate it. It's an honor to share my experience. I enjoy sharing my experience. To me, it feels like what I would love to do is just climb the tallest mountain and shout to the world, this is real. There's a lot more to it than, I thought, or going in, basically. So I'd like to lay a foundation, if I could, just to share, my growing up. I grew up Catholic. I was an altar boy. I was born in the 60s, by the way, grew up Catholic, was an altar boy, wanted to be a priest. So spiritually, I have a Catholic foundation. That was really what I wanted to do. When I became a teenager, my parents separated. I went to live with my grandmother in the city, and my life became basically sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I was a troublemaker. Back in the 80s, real quick, in the 80s, it was that one day there'll be a computer in every home. So I bid on that, studied information technology, and there's a computer pretty much in every home today. So they were right, and I've been doing IT stuff ever since. I met my wife at that time. I have two grown sons who are living on their own, and I've just a normal life, going back and forth to work, paying bills, raising family, et cetera, et cetera. So we come up to 2014, specifically May of 2014. So I normally get up in the IT field. I get up, like 4 o'clock, 4:30, something like that. My alarms right now are like 4:15, 4:30. And so I'm sleeping, and I sort of came to, and I'm laying there, and it's basically like something doesn't feel right to me. It's just, something's wrong. When something's wrong with you. So the thoughts are going through my mind. What do I do? Do I go back to sleep? Do I get up? Get up and get ready for work? That type of thing. And I look over to my right, and it's blurry. So, there's just a big blurry spot. So, this to me is like, okay, I just woke up. It's a little bit hazy or something. You see, I do wear glasses. At the time, I didn't wear glasses. And honestly, at that point, I remember thinking, all right, my wife has been hounding me all these years. Let me get my glass. I'm going to go to the doctor. Like she said, obviously something's not right with my vision. And I'm going to get glasses. So I lay back down thinking, all right, I'm going to go to sleep and try to go back to sleep and wait till the alarm wake me up. By the way, well, I'll get in that moment, actually. So I'm still laying there, maybe 30 seconds, a minute. It's just something doesn't feel right. So again, I look over to my right. Something's just like, it's over here on my right side. And that blurriness kind of collapsed together, came together. And I knew it instantly as the Grim Reaper. So this was not the traditional Grim Reaper that you see on the TV screen or in movies or something like that. Like, I always believed the Grim Reaper to be. I knew this was the Grim Reaper right away. I knew I was dead right away. I was like, wow, okay, I know what's wrong. I'm dead. I knew what happened. I have sleep apnea. I have severe sleep apnea. I've been to sleep studies and stuff like that. Same thing with that. I didn't wear glasses. I didn't really listen to the doctor. I was supposed to have a BiPAP machine. I didn't at the time, and I had stopped breathing. It's happened. Actually ended up in a coma a few years prior from, that type of thing. Didn't experience anything at that time, by the way, when I was in a coma. So I knew this was the Grim Reaper. And how I would describe it, if you would take like a Jewish candle, which, you take the top like a big U, and you cut off the bottom piece, the stick, and it wasn't that wide, and it was gaseous. It had this blurriness had like consolidated and condensed into a gaseous being, and the gas was flowing up, It was, like I said, it was like a U. It was coming from this point, like in the middle and flowing up. I can't say that I saw anything flowing downwards. I just recall, the gaseousness going up. And it started telling me, everything's going to be okay. It wasn't verbal communications. This had no form. I understood, that a being like this doesn't necessarily have a form. It could be anything that I needed it to be, to comfort me, to help me. And that's what it started communicating with me. It started telling me everything's okay. You're going to be okay. I'm not here to harm you. And like I said, I knew I was dead. I knew that the Grim Reaper was there to help transition me. It's not there to kill me. You see Hollywood telling you all this stuff like, hey, the Grim Reaper coming around to kill you and stuff like that. This Grim Reaper was not there to do me any harm. He was there to help me. And he started coming towards me. When he started coming towards me, my body started vibrating. And I'm not talking about physical vibrations. I don't think that occurred. What I understand that to be is basically my soul was detaching from my body. The way I would describe that is if you take goosebumps, flip them upside down, amp them up maybe 100 times or something like that, and cling those goosebumps to your bones. That's what I felt. My entire, every hair, every atom, every cell was vibrating. And I couldn't physically move. So, this thing's coming towards me. I'm sitting there vibrating like this. Then these orbs, I'm laying on my back. Okay. So if you can envision somebody laying on their back, these orbs appeared. Now I'm 6'4". So, and they were about 4 feet from the end of my, or about 4 feet from the end of my feet. So, 10 feet from my head. And maybe 8 to 10 feet up off the ground. And I don't know how many. I would say, like, what is it? Two is not enough. 6 is too many. I would say 4. These were golf ball size orbs. They look creamy, tan, golden in color. I never physically touched them, but they appeared soft. And they started moving around this space. The space, I would say, is about maybe 4 feet wide and 2.5, 3 feet high. I don't know that they followed a pattern, a specific pattern, like, they were following, a certain pattern or something like that. But they just started, what to me seemed to be free floating in this space. And here's old Grim over here coming over from the right. I was, vibrating. And my soul started coming out of my body. I actually experienced that. It didn't leap out or anything. So my soul from right, I don't know if you can see it, I'll show it. So like from right here. So it started funneling out of my body. So I'm laying on my back. And the way I would describe this, if you've ever seen a nuclear bomb go off, how the funnel comes up and the mushroom cloud, take off the mushroom cloud part. My soul was streaming out like this. And I could feel the strands of my soul were interwoven. So the way I would describe that is like a piece of yarn. You've touched yarn before, I guess. So how soft it is, it felt soft. I could feel it on my skin. And this was maybe dime size, and it felt like they were interwoven, and it was just coming out of my body. And at a point that it was coming out, I remember thinking that it wanted to get out of Dodge. Honestly, that was what I thought. And I remember thinking, wow, has life been that bad that you can't wait to get out of here? It was honestly like that. So, okay, old Grim's coming to me. These things are flying around the sky. My soul is streaming out of my body. I'm vibrating, and it's just, this thing is just going on. The Grim Reaper is just like, it's okay, everything's okay. And I honestly told it, shut up, I'm dead. I get it. You're like a broken record. Just shut up already. And its reply to me was no, that it was not going to shut up. That's what it's there to do, to help me, and that's what it's going to do, whether I like it or not. So my soul was coming out of my body, and like I said, I'm laying flat. To maybe a foot from my head, I started being there. That's when my soul was ending up. I was standing next to my body. I was in 2 places at once. I could feel it coming out of my body still, and I could also see it from the perspective of being at my head position. And all this was happening, and I realized about this time, the best way I would describe it is like you're walking through a doorway. The further I went, the more I experienced. So, you put one foot, say, in the door and you see a little bit. You put another foot in the door, you see a little bit more, you experience a little bit more. That's what this was to me. I was going through a transition to leave my body and, return to where I should be. I don't want to jump ahead. So, like I say, Grimm's coming at me, my soul's jumping out, my body's still vibrating. These orbs that were floating up in that space changed. They disappeared. They became softball size orbs. So the way I would describe these, so if you'd have to picture like a softball, cut it in half. The bottom half of the orb of these orbs were like reflective chrome. Now I say that, but I can't verify that I actually saw a reflection of the room around me. They just, if you think of like old school muscle cars, is the way that I would describe it, how they were always chrome and shiny and all that stuff. The bottom half was chrome, it was not see-through. The top half of these orbs were crystal clear frosted glass. Now it's frosted, but it was still crystal clear. Inside of each orb was a light. Like one would be green, one would be blue, one would be orange, one would be red. I can't say for sure if they were ever the same color at the same time, but they moved around in this free floating space as well. And the smaller orbs disappeared at the same time they appeared. Again, to me, it's like, I'm going further through a transition. I'm experiencing more. So this is continuing on. My soul's out of my body. Old Grim Reaper's right next to me on the right-hand side. I'm on the left side of my body. My soul's out of my body. There's no more vibrating or anything. The orbs disappeared. And what appeared in that space is the traditional, what everybody says, the white light, go into the light, that type of thing. But I didn't necessarily see it as just a light. My soul understood that to be God. I'm sorry, I don't want to disrespect anyone with, an illness, but it felt to me like I had Tourette syndrome. Uncontrollably, instantly, I knew it was God. And my soul communicated to this being, said, God, I love you. It wasn't like, going into it, I'd probably be like, oh, crap, God, what do you do? What do you say? Seriously. My soul took over. And it was like uncontrollable. It knew what to do. It knew it was God. And when I said that, when I said that to God, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned the orbs had all disappeared at this point. It just became that light. And when I said that to God, God wrapped me up like a cocoon. And I felt that love that, other people who I've heard share their experiences. I felt that love wrap me up. And I understood in an instant the meaning of eternity. I understood how much God loves us, all of us. God loves us so much that God protects our souls from everything and anything. Not saying while we're here human, but our souls. There is no death with God. I should say that. So what I got from the being, or from what I understand to be God, not traditionally like, in church, growing up religious, you see like paintings of what God would look like and stuff like that. That wasn't what I saw. What I got that was very powerful to me is God told me, I am the one that is all, the beginning and the end. And to me, the protection, and like I said, I don't want to try to cry. The love is overpowering. It is so beautiful. And I honestly thought, as corny as it may sound, I thought, wow, I just found the real fountain of youth. God's love is the real fountain of youth, and that was what I thought, as crazy as that may sound, that's what I thought. And so, sorry, I don't want to cry, but it's a beautiful moment, man. It was really powerful. It's more than words could say, honestly. Um, so, and God communicated to me, uh, playtime, and I struggled with this. So first off, God communicated to me that playtime was over. It was time to come home. I honestly did. I took a long time to deal with, what do you mean playtime? Hold up here. Honestly, but that's what I was communicated to me, and I started to leave. I was out of here, I don't think that I moved on my own. I think that I was being assisted. Uh, and I was on my way out of here, and I realized at that point that, I saw my body, and I thought, wow, okay, I'm married. Like I said, I have two kids. They're not kids, they're men. Sorry. And I realized that, wow, this whole time I never thought about my family. And old Grim over here, who was still there, told me, your wife's going to find your body. She'll be sad, but it'll be okay. And I understood at that moment that yes, it is okay. Everything's okay. It didn't matter what happened here in the human world. Even if they had, I don't want to think about it, but even if they had been homeless after I died, and lost my income and stuff like that, it would still be okay, because in the end, they will be there too with me. Um, so, it's not that I wasn't thinking about my family. It's just so much was going on, so I love my family. I'm still married, by the way. So I was leaving, and I on my way out, I was like, God, please watch over my mom, my wife, my oldest son, and my youngest son. I didn't say it like that. I said their names. And instantly I was back. And there is a close first and second. And I don't know for sure. So the first realization, I believe, is knowing why I was back. I was back because God had granted my request. I asked God to watch over my family, and God sent me back to watch over them. And sorry. And the second, and like I said, they're kind of close first and second. Second was the pain of coming back in the body. Feeling your lungs filling up and stuff like that, all those different sensations you feel coming back into a body. And that was my near-death experience. I'm an IT, like I said, so I'm an analytical thinker, details, logical type person. I won't say I doubted my experience, but I've heard science over the years say, your brain does this, or that type of thing is going on. So I had to question it logically, just from a logical standpoint. I didn't die in a horrific car accident or something. I simply stopped breathing because of my severe sleep apnea, which I think is probably the best way to go, maybe, is in your sleep. It seemed to be the most peaceful. So a couple of days later, I'm sleeping, and you're going a lot of craziness, like, wow, really emotional and all that kind of stuff. A couple of days later, I'm sleeping, and if you have cable, I don't know if you have cable, but I have cable. And cable has this thing that comes on every so often, emergency alert. It goes off at 3 o'clock, like 3:30, whatever in the morning. And the emergency alert went off and woke me up. I can keep my TV down low. It's like, beep, this is a test of the emergency alert system. If this had been an actual emergency, blah, blah, blah. All right, fine, I'm awake again early. So I'm laying there. Another one goes off. I'm starting to doze back. I'm starting to doze off. Another alert goes off. So I think one was a weekly test and one was a monthly test. All right, now I'm really awake and I'm pissed. I honestly, I was going to call the cable company in the morning and complain. And they wouldn't do anything. I mean, it's like probably a law or something that they have to do these tests. But I was going to call their business office when they open and like give them a piece of my mind. You're waking people up in the middle of the night. We got to go to work. We have to be bright eyed and all that stuff, and focused on our job. Um, and so I laid there. I was like, okay, calm down, chill out, relax. And I'm laying there for probably a minute or so, and I'm not going back to sleep. I'm wide awake. I'm still agitated, and I hear laughter uh, behind me, laughing. And so, okay, I lived in the cul-de-sac at the time. I don't live there now, but so I lived in a cul-de-sac. So you picture a cul-de-sac, street going out that way. My house was here. There was a home over here with basketball courts. So, okay, laughter. It's normal in the cul-de-sac to hear the kids out there playing basketball and stuff like that. It's totally cool. And my thought was, okay, somebody must have left the door open because I can hear the kids pretty good out there playing basketball. After a little bit, maybe I don't know how long, maybe 30 seconds or so, I realized, hold up, it's like not even 4 o'clock in the morning. It's pitch black outside. It's dark. There are no kids out there playing basketball. What is going on? And as soon as I realized that, maybe 6 inches to a foot from my ear, I heard a voice. It said, "We're here for you." Crystal clear, as you and I would be speaking, probably maybe even more clear than that. It was right next to my ear, and my body started vibrating again. Okay, obviously, what happened a couple nights prior really happened because I'm wide awake, and this is really happening. So, two things. One, we're here for you. We're implies plural, not singular. And it sounded like children's voices laughing. I knew that they were laughing at me because here I'd been given a second chance coming back, and I'm pissed just simply because I got woken up early. So they're kind of like laughing at my expense because I'm upset, over something so minute. Um, and two, we're here for you. Does that mean we're here to help you or we're here to take you? We're here to finish the job, basically. So this time I didn't flow out of my body. I was out instantly. And I had what could be called a traditional life review. I got to experience things from my life, uh, you know, moments from throughout my life that had an impact from people, but it wasn't a judgment. So, when I grew up, like I said, and that's why I said that, I had a Catholic foundation as a judgment, here's God. Did you go to church every Sunday? Did you believe this? Did you believe that? The God I met never cared about whether or not, I believed something or did something a certain way. God loved me unconditionally. By the way, that was something I missed. I realized that as well. When I met God, I found the true meaning of unconditional love. There were no conditions. It wasn't that, oh, you must kneel down to me and worship me and I'll love you. It wasn't that. God loves us unconditionally. So let me get back. The life review part was as though I'm there, like reliving those events, but from a different perspective. It wasn't a judgment. It was simply as I understood it. And again, I'm not dismissing anyone else's experience, what they've experienced. My experience was that I was seeing and experiencing these things to understand how my actions had an impact on other people. That was the purpose of the life review for me. So the one life review moment that stands out, as crazy as it is, and I'm sorry, it's not really crazy, but so picture two lanes. You got two lanes going down the street like this. Two lanes coming this way, divided. Yellow line dividing the lanes, and I'm coming up on a red light. And this was something I saw from my life. So I'm coming up on a red light. The left lane, where I'm going this way, the left lane has like 3 or 4 cars in it. Right lane had no cars in it. Cool. I'm gonna jump this pack. I'm gonna get over in the right lane. Light's gonna turn green. I'm gone. Um, but the light didn't change that fast. Somebody pulled up behind me, was in a hurry, wanted to make a right on red. And I'm blocking him from doing that. I felt how he felt. Frustrated and needing to go in a hurry. So honestly, and I'm not this particular place, but when I've been in a situation like that since, I will purposefully get out of the right lane just so somebody, if they have to make a right on the red, can do it. As minute as that is, and maybe as silly as that is, that was the most impactful thing for me from my life review. all the other stuff meant something, but that's the one thing that really stuck out to me. So, like I said, as back to the other part, as much as I might try to dismiss what happened, what occurred 2 days later when I was wide awake, agitated, had some of the same principles, especially like the body vibrating. It just, you can feel it through your hair. I have a mustache. I don't know if you can see that. See, I have a mustache, but you can feel it in every hair of your body. You can feel it in every atom of your body. That's what it felt like to me. And again, it was like goosebumps, amped up, flipped around, clung to my bones, just through every part of my body. So, oh, you know what? I left something out. I missed something. Sorry. I said I hadn't told this story in details except once in years. So as I'm laying there, um, and the vibrating was occurring again, I tried to move and I couldn't move. So I'm laying there and I'm looking down like at my feet and I'm trying to move my feet. So if you picture your feet out like this, I'm trying to, move my feet like windshield washers, just kick, not kick out, just like move. My physical feet didn't move. I saw my soul, they were shaped like my feet doing that, but my physical feet were there. And there's no denying it. So I can't deny, and I don't deny it, just, a logical process. Could it be? And it actually, that's what happened to me. That's my near death experience. So I don't see the second part as a near death experience. I see it more as maybe what they call a spiritually transformative experience. It had aspects like the vibrating and stuff like that of the near death experience, but I didn't leave the same way that I felt during my near death experience, how I was coming out. I could feel those strands, what felt like strands of yarn, maybe about a dime in thickness, dime size strands. So, I didn't have that part of it. I was out instantly in that part, in the life review process. So, and that's my experience. After that, a lot of crazy stuff started happening. And to me in IT, the way I would describe it as I understand it is that I've left my body. I came back. My body's like a firewall. By my coming back into my body, some additional ports on my body are open. So now I go out and do like I'm doing now, a ghost hunt. I go out to hang with the spirits because I've been there. I just want to hang out with them. They were once human. You know, I don't need to be there making fun of them or wanting evidence or anything like that. I have nothing to prove. It just so that's what I do now, and it's completely changed my life. Like I said, my marriage was difficult. I think I mentioned that. I'm sorry, I don't remember if I mentioned that, but my marriage really had a difficult time, and this was May of 2014. It was just before Christmas because I thought, wow, man, here I am. It's a hard choice, honestly, with all the crazy stuff going on. Obviously, this should happen. Um, that for some reason this should happen. So do I honor my wife, who I promised, to forsake for all others, or do I honor what God is, what I'm given now, the experiences that I'm being given after my NDE? So it was a hard choice, and I realized right before Christmas that okay, my family didn't sign up for this. They can experience paranormal, what we would call paranormal events around the house or around me. Um, and that bothered them, that like freaked them out basically. So it was difficult, and I thought, wow, here it is, Christmas is coming and I've destroyed my family. And fortunately it didn't end up that way. I'm still married, my kids are great, my men are great, I should say. They're grown. So that's my story. That's what happened.
Dan, thank you for sharing your experiences with us. Was your overall impression of the Grim Reaper positive, like he was a good guy?
He was a good guy. And I apologize if I kind of rushed, and I apologize, but the Grim Reaper, I honestly thought Hollywood has given this guy a bum rap. I thought that because he was nothing like Hollywood portrays it as. He was not there to hurt me. He was not there to kill me. First off, I was already dead. He was not there to hurt me. He was there to help me transition. He did jack me up and put me in my place when I told him to shut up.
Mhm.
Because I told him, I was like, man, you're like a broken record. Shut up already. I get it. I'm dead. He's like, nope, this is what I'm here to do, and I'm going to do it whether you like it or not. So he kind of put me in my place, but he was totally cool. I love it. I say, and I would say now, I can't wait to die. I'm in no hurry. I don't mind being back. I can't wait to die again. It was totally cool.
Were you agitated at him or just maybe angry that you were dead in
No,
general?
I wasn't. It's just he just kept going on like a broken record. It's okay. It's everything's okay. You're gonna be okay. I'm not here to harm you. It's like, okay, all right, shut up. I get it. I'm dead.
Mhm.
So no big deal.
Especially since you work in the IT world, have
Yes.
you ever seen pictures of orbs online that look like the orbs that you saw in your
No.
experience?
No, I do. As I mentioned, do paranormal investigations, so I have all kinds of gear. Static, full spectrum cameras, regular cameras, all that kind of stuff, trail cams. And I've captured a lot of orbs, things moving around and stuff like that. I have not. So these were golf ball size. They appeared soft. They did appear soft, though I did not actually touch them, so I can't validate that. They were cream color, golden, uh, kind of maybe an off white, but I won't say tan. They were golden, cream colored orbs, the golf ball size ones. So the other ones that showed up next were softball size, roughly. But then, like I said, they were like split in half. All of them were like that. They all had color from inside of them. Like one was green, orange, blue, and they just kept changing colors as they moved around in that space. And I don't know if they were actually following a specific pattern. I didn't pay attention to that. They just seemed to me free floating. Whether they were actually free floating, I don't know.
Did you get the sense that they were actually entities?
Um, no, I did not. I can't say that. That's actually a good possibility. They may have been. I did not get that. What I got, for me is I felt like I was going through a doorway. Didn't feel like going through a doorway, but I just understood it that the more I transitioned along, the more I experienced. Um, so they did not feel like entities to me. No.
Do you feel like the reality over there is more real than here?
So my experiences are not status quo. I mentioned it to you when we were setting this up. I don't watch YouTube videos. I've tried to disassociate with all preconceptions. I don't listen to podcasts. I do co-chair a meetup. So I do hear other people's experiences. I do read things on Facebook, and respond to people when they have questions and stuff. I do. So, when not long after my death, after my NDE, guides, I call them rememberers, but I'll call them guides because that's what everyone knows them as, um, told, told me to, not let other people's experiences influence my own. And they would show me some different perspectives. Uh, I do. So, like one of the things that I understand is, I've had an NDE and it's a great experience. But as I understand it, we've only touched the tip of the iceberg. So, and I was wrong about what I call it. I call it the point of no return. So when we have an NDE, and I'll just say myself, but my understanding is this is just the way it is. We only go to a certain point. We never go past that point and come back to be able to share our experience. I was wrong in that. I was told a little bit, a while ago, maybe a few months ago, that's what creates this void. People who do go past that point and come back, they can't remember those experiences. So apparently, we have experiences there in that realm. Some are even beyond the comprehension of humanity. So, those aren't going to come back and be shared with us. Um, Whether that's true or not, I haven't experienced that. I feel like I remembered all my experience. I did not have this void that people talk of. The way I would liken the void is like, anyone who works with classified information from the government, about sanitizing documents before you do like a freedom of information stuff. So that's kind of what the void, as I've been told, is. So, as I said, I have a different perspective. I'm not dismissing anyone's perspective about what it is. I'm just what the members are telling me. By the way, I did miss something. I thought about it a moment ago. When I met God, I understood God knew me better than I knew myself. That was like right away. I knew God knew me and understood me better than I knew myself. I also remember thinking God knows more about being human than any human ever will. So the things we might fault ourselves for here, God would not fault us for. That was my experience. I'm not dismissing anyone else's, please. So which was completely opposite from what I grew up with. And that's why I say, I grew up Catholic. I have that Catholic foundation, and it's completely opposite of what I grew up with. It was unconditional love.
So where are you at now with your spiritual beliefs?
It's different. Honestly, it's different. I joke since I don't call it, I call it a near-death experience. I don't see it that way. I see it as a death experience. It's the afterlife. I don't see it as the afterlife. That is life. This is like a pit stop to me. Now I have some disconnected from being, from the human aspect of things sometimes. So that's has its downfalls. I hope I don't come off as like snarky or anything. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be that way. Just for me, I just see this different perspective. My spiritual beliefs, I don't believe in God anymore. Honestly, I don't believe in God. People ask me that, do you still believe in God? Nope. I know that God is real. So, and that's why I'll say, I trust the universe. God, I am the one that is all. God to me is all. Everything to this. So the universe will provide, the universe will guide me, turn it over to God as I grew up understanding religion. Turn your life over to God. So that's kind of what I do now. And I don't have to understand. I found that that's what I found. I don't have to understand. All I have to do is trust. I tell people, I would say pre-NDE that, God was my co-pilot. It's not that way for me now. God is not my co-pilot. I'm God's co-pilot. God's in control, taking this, driving this car down the road. I'm just going along for the ride, enjoying this, the scenery along the way. That's how I see it now. That's where I'm at spiritually. I know God is real. There's no, I could have amnesia probably and never forget that. The love that I felt. Sorry, I don't want to cry. The love that I felt is so powerful, so beautiful. I could never forget that. And I know God is there for all of us, every one of us. There's nothing special about me. I'm Joe Blow. I'm nobody, and I, that was one of the things I struggled with actually, is why was God there for my death? And as I understand it, God is there for everyone's death. So, like I said, there's nothing special about me. I wasn't given special treatment or anything like that. This is, this is going home. And by the way, the playtime's over. It's time to come home. The way I didn't describe it, but the way I would describe it, if you think of an old Western or something, you think of like a parent coming out ringing the dinner bell. Kids, it's time to come in for supper. That's what it felt like. It felt like, I think it's time to come home now. It's over. So that was what it felt like to me at that time.
You
So,
mentioned that you feel like you still have some ports open to the other side. What kind of abilities do you have since you're in NDE?
oh, that's a hard one. That might be a separate podcast by itself. All right. So I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm sorry if it sounds crazy. I'll tell you what. If my pre-NDE self had met my post-NDE self, my pre-NDE self would probably say, "Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. See you later, wacko." That type of thing. Honestly, I'm not saying I didn't believe in paranormal type stuff, but that's just off the wall stuff. So one of the reasons So when you do these ghost hunts, they don't like you to cross spirits over, because then you have to pay for to come here type thing. You know what I mean? So they're making revenue at it. So one of the things I found that I am able to do is help to cross the spirits over. So I do that a lot of times when I do these ghost hunts, and maybe it's what I'm seeking, it's what I'm getting type thing. I'll always get help and stuff like that. Please help, I'm stuck or something. So I try to help them cross over, and that is, I would call that my true passion. I want to help them. I communicate with them, they communicate with me. By the way, these rememberers, man, I get stuff wrong. I won't say all the time, but I do get stuff wrong. So in the IT world, the way I describe this to people, if you have a compressed file, the way they communicate with me is having like having to unpack a compressed file. So I don't always get it right. Um, so I will misunderstand things and stuff like that. But they seem to be operating at a faster rate. And I'll share this with you too. Some of the crazy experiences actually having out of body experiences, uh, similar to my spiritually transformative experience. Now, I'm not talking, I'm not dismissing anyone else's experience, but I'm talking about physical out of body experience. Where you're out of your body. It's not astral, projection or anything like that. This is, when I have out of body experiences, like I had a circular fan, this fan that sits like on a stand and spins around like that. So when I looked over at this thing during, OBEs, uh, it has a perception of going like slow. You ever seen the helicopter blades where they go, it looks like they're going slow, but they're going fast, otherwise it fall. The fan looked like that too. And the first few times this happened to me, I thought, wow, everything slows down when you don't have a body. I was incorrect. Again, incorrect. It isn't things slow down, it's that things speed up. And when I realized that, I realized why when they communicate with me, I'm having to like unpack this stuff. It's because they seem to be going at like a hyperspeed or something. So it wasn't that things slow down when you don't have a body. When you don't have a body, you speed up. Or that's what I've experienced. I'm not saying it's everybody, just that's what I experienced. And just crazy stuff like that. Just a fan like it looked like it was slowing down. So and I thought that the first few OBEs, but it wasn't. It was me speeding up.
Why do you think spirits get stuck?
So what I've experienced, and I'm only going to share what I've experienced. A lot of times they are fearful of judgment. I've mentioned one case. It took. All right, so please don't do this at home. Okay, so I'm not anybody that's listening. Don't try this at home. So you could in the paranormal field you could call it picking up an attachment. And I'm not recommending anybody try to do this. So during the time that they're in attachment, I try to help them to move on. And this soul, this gentleman that I picked up during an investigation, had showed me how he killed the woman, and he was so scared to move on. So after it took a couple weeks, and he did finally leave. And that's cool. See, so when he leaves, and the reason I say don't try this at home, I'm basically lending them my body to die again, to move on again. So I get to be part of their death again. And I was told that as well. When I die next time, I won't be leaving. I'm going to hang around and get to help others when I don't have a body. So that to me is pretty cool. If I can help, that would be great.
Do you think at the time of their death, instead of meeting the Grim Reaper or God, they just run away and hide or something?
You're not forced to leave, okay, as I understand it. So you can stay here again, eternity. There is no beginning and no end. As I understand it, we existed prior to this universe, and we will continue to exist long after this universe and many others come and go. So that's the meaning of eternity. So if they're here working, the way I'll call it is letting go of your human, letting go of your not sorrow, your guilt. That's a good way to say it. Thank you. I actually never thought, guilt. That's the way it seems to be with most of the souls that I help, is they have to let go of their guilt to move on. Is that all of them? I don't know. I'm just, I can only share what I've experienced. Um, so it seems to be that most of them have a guilt and they don't want to move on. And you're not forced to move on. You can stay here for a million years. And when you're talking about eternity, a million years is nothing. So, that's my understanding up to this point, what I've experienced so far. So, and again, please, anybody listening, don't try that at home.
Yeah.
Don't lend your body to any non-body entity. Then that's why I call them a non-body entity. So please don't do that.
Let me just kind of re-ask this a different way. So do you think like when they die, if they're approached by the Grim Reaper or God or any other beings, they just say, get out of here, I'm staying, or they just refuse and they just stay in their body? Or what do you think happens?
So I don't know. So if you don't move from your body, have you ever heard the phrase spontaneous human combustion?
Yes.
So my understanding, if you don't move from your body, that will happen. So if you ever seen a combustion thing, this is your power plant to me, and so if you sit there radiating like this and you're vibrating like that, you don't move from your body, you're going to combust and you're going to have nothing but fingertips and toes left, basically. You're going to radiate inside out. That's how I understand it to this point. So why do they not leave? I don't know. Other than, to me, what I've experienced, it would be mostly guilt. They're scared. Most of them seem scared to move on.
What are your thoughts about reincarnation?
I did not share that part of it either. What I got, like I said, it's sort of like the point of no return. We don't go too far. We're only, having an NDE, you only experience the tip of the iceberg. So there is individuality there. There is individuality here. I didn't get that. As a matter of fact, I got the opposite. There wasn't individuality with God. So a reincarnation, I don't know. I'm kind of on the edge. I don't know. I've tried going. There's a place down the road. I live in Virginia. So there's a place down the road that I've been, Edgar Casey's place. And I tried to do a past life regression. It didn't work. So I can't answer that, honestly. I tried to connect with the chakras, and I'm told they're not for me. That's not for me. Again, let the preconceptions go. To me, the chakras, are like body parts for the soul, basically. So I don't know. I don't want to make assumptions. I just didn't get that. There was no hierarchy, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. When I met God, that's what I felt. There was no hierarchy. So, growing up Catholic, you would think there's, as a hierarchical structure. So, to me, there was no hierarchy. There was no, the individuality was gone. I am the one that is all. We are all part of that. God, to me, lives inside of each and every one of us. So that's my perspective on it right now.
When you've had your out-of-body experiences, are they spontaneous things or do you cause it to happen?
I have not been able to cause it to happen. As I understand, it is possible to trigger them. So I was told that there is apparently a harmonic frequency that can cause out-of-body experiences. I have not figured that out yet. My understanding, it hasn't been found yet. So they are apparently reproducible if we could figure that out. So, I've not done it. I've actually had an out-of-body experience with my wife right next to me. I was sitting in a recliner. We weren't in the house at the time. We were in another home. So I was sitting in a recliner and a couch right next to it. TV's out in front of us. And my wife's sitting on the couch. We're watching TV, and I had an out-of-body experience. It's uncontrollable, I guess you could say. I haven't been able to predict or understand what triggers them. other than what I was told would trigger them. So I'm sitting there, my wife's there, I'm trying to talk to her. I realize I'm out of my body, the vibrate, all that stuff. And I'm trying to move my hands and stuff, and I can see like my soul hand moving, my arm moving, and my wife's not paying attention to me. So maybe I'm glad she didn't. That would probably freak the hell out of her. Oh shit. Oh, sorry. I don't know. So I'm glad that she didn't see it. She couldn't hear me trying to communicate with her. But it ended. And probably, I don't know how long it went on, maybe a couple minutes. I am told, by the way, that you cannot stay out of your body for too long. If you stay out of your body for too long, you won't be able to come back. I don't know what that time limit is. And fortunately, I've always come back. So there have been times when I felt like almost a tether pulls you back. I don't know if there's a tether. I've described that to a couple other people, and they say that you're like you're tethered or something. I can't verify that. But there have been a couple instances where I felt like I was pulled back in. Maybe I was pulled back in before the timer ran out or whatever, and my body physically died. I don't know. That would be assumption, by the way.
What kind of advice would you give to people who fear death?
Don't fear death. It's easy for me to say because I've experienced it. I don't fear death anymore. I don't know if I felt it or feared it prior, but death is not something to be feared. It's something that we'll all experience. There is more. I don't want to say there's an afterlife because to me it's not an afterlife, but in the perspective of human, it's afterlife. To me, that was life. That's our real life. The time we spend here is minuscule. But it does go on afterwards. If I can say anything from the experiences, even from my questioning what happened at my NDE or DE, and having it basically validated while I was wide awake a couple nights later, it is real. It really is real. It's okay if people don't want to believe it. It's okay if people want to believe it. God didn't care whether you believe it or not. God will love, the Pope as much as God. I don't want to say that actually, but you know what I mean. God's going to love us all the same. It's unconditional. It's the true meaning, and I realized that when I experienced it, it's the true meaning of unconditional love. That's what awaits us all. It could await us immediately after we die. It could be 1,000 years. It could be 1,000,000 years. Time didn't really matter there. And that's just a whole separate story to itself. So.
Could you consider that being here in this 3D realm is dreamlike compared to being over there?
I've thought about that. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't want to say it's dreamlike. From a logical perspective, that seems real to me. From being out of my body, not having a body, that still seems real. The surrounding environment didn't change. It didn't reshift or anything like that. It's just like I said, the circular fan that was going around was going like real slow. I don't know. I'm sorry. I honestly don't know.
After watching this podcast, people may want to reach out to you and ask you questions. Are you open to that?
I am. You can post my last name. That's fine.
All right. Maybe I'll put it in the description. How about that?
That's fine. Yeah, I'm on Facebook. That's fine. And that's what I do. I try to share my experiences when people have questions on like Facebook and all. So yeah, I'm fine.
Right.
Like I said, it's like you want to climb to the highest mountain and scream it to the world. Hey, God loves you. This is real. I'm not trying to push people. Your journey is your journey. My journey is my journey. And what I got from this, one of the things is there's no right or wrong. There's just different. Just like in dying, your experience is meant to be unique to the soul that is experiencing it. While being here, it's also meant to be unique, that we each have unique experiences. So that's where all this other stuff comes in, like the different religions, which one's right, which one's wrong. There's no right or wrong. There's just different.
Well, before we finish up, can you leave us with one last positive message?
God loves you. I I would put I can't say I put my life on that, but I would put my life on that. I know God loves you. I know that it's real. If you don't want to believe, that's okay. God doesn't mind. If you want to believe, that's okay too. God doesn't mind that either. So, but it is real. This isn't the life, man. That is the real life. So, I will call it afterlife. That's what everyone refers to it as. But that was the real life. This isn't it. This is just like a pit stop to me.
Dan, thank you for that message, and thank you again for being my guest.
Thank you for having me. It was an honor. Like I said, I was apprehensive about doing this, honestly. I didn't know because I hadn't shared my story in detail in years. I hope I didn't scatter it too much. And so it was cool, man. Thank you very much.
You were great, and the pleasure was all mine.
Likewise. Thank you. You have a good night.
You too. Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.